All right. Night shift.
Welcome back. Night shift.
Night shift.
Ka, ka, ka.
Night shift. Night shift. Night shift. Night shift. Night
Wah,
shift.
wah, wah.
Here we go.
Let's go! How y'all doing today? Hey, back once again. Night shift back in your face. We have first I'm gonna do a roll call. You know what I'm saying? For the crew, that everybody know everybody's still here. We're still alive. Angie, how are you doing?
I'm feeling great, feeling good. I'm glad to be back in the
All right,
airwaves.
just coming back from Belgium, moving
Yes,
the big baller.
Big trip, yeah.
All
big
right,
trip.
all right,
Glad
all
to
right.
be back home.
That's right. Ray J, what's going on?
Man, what's going on, man? I'm feeling okay, but you know, my birthday was January 22nd, and the flood came and washed me away like I was a true Aquarius. But you know, me being a true Aquarius, I swam back, and God is good, so I'm here.
All right, all right. Hey, Adam, what's going on, boy?
Hey, long time no see.
Man, you know what? Hey, back once again, and we have a special guest with us today. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna let you guys know about a little harm reduction coalition, and we're talking with the founder. Okay, we're talking about with the head kahuna
Yeah.
that knows
The big
why.
honcho.
And you know what? She's gonna let you guys know a lot of things that are harm reduction that we're doing in our everyday life. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know I was doing it, but her name. Introduce
I'll just
yourself.
go. My name is Tara Stamos Bisig. I'm the founder and CEO of the Harm Reduction Coalition of San Diego. And
How you doing?
I'm really, really good tonight. I'm
All right.
stoked to be on your show. It's fucking
Thank
really
you.
cool
Thank-
show.
Thank you. Well, you know what? We appreciate you, and it's like anything that we can help you to spread the awareness
Okay.
about harm
Bring to
reduction
the public.
All right.
You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
I'm gonna call on you guys then because I got a
And we gonna
bunch
answer.
of stuff to do.
and we're gonna answer.
Cool.
Okay, so you know what? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your corporation and what caused you to start it?
That might not be just a little bit, but
Okay, well, hey,
so I have first of all, I have a very long and extensive history of active drug use. It's been 11 years since I walked away from very chaotic heroin and meth at the end use. And I have a history of a 25-year history of sex work. And I've been to prison. I lost my kids. I was homeless. I was a criminal. I was a shiesty motherfucker.
Okay,
Like,
come on.
Really, really.
Come on, get down and dirty with us.
You got
Like,
a real
you
bag of tricks, huh?
know, you've
okay.
seen-
Okay.
You've done.
I've done. Seen.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you could take all those things and turn it into something positive. You know what I mean? Because what we think is the evil, there's a higher power that uses stuff that's the
I'll
same
tell
stuff
you what.
for
yeah.
good.
Yep. You know, I the last time I used chaotically or those substances at all was I was on the boulevard across from Hoover High in fishnets
What?
at 12:30 at night.
Oh,
on
my
a
favorite
Sunday.
cleaners over there.
Oh yeah,
By the
the
Chinese
best
place.
cleaner.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's
God,
my
they're the
cleaners.
best. I used to
Okay.
use them, and and I had dropped my spoonful of drugs onto the floor, and I was on the ground on my hands and knees mopping it up with my syringe, and as I was down there, I said, God, I can't do this. You can, and I'm going to let you, and just like surrendered to whatever it was because I could not control things anymore, and I knew that.
Exactly.
And so about 30 minutes later, I got arrested in a prostitution sting operation, and it was the first time that I ever thanked police officers, and the last, pretty much. But I mean, I thank them for a lot of things, but you know, also I'm very much a fuck the police person as well.
Exactly.
And you know, that's meant with all the love. So I and I'll talk more about that later. But you know, I don't even remember the question you just asked me. But
How did it all start?
oh well, so
Yeah.
Well,
I-
go ahead.
oh, I had quit my I had stopped using. I told the cops that I'd prayed for this. I went to jail. I got offered Prop 36. I thought I was looking at like 6 to 10 years, and I was ready to do that time because I was tired, really, really tired of living life the way
To live
I was living, and I had wanted to give up at times, but I didn't because I knew a couple of things. I knew that my kids would be devastated and it would start a cycle, and that they would struggle, and that it goes down. I know how suicide or other stuff trauma impacts future generations, and so I held on to this little mustard seed of hope all along those times, and a thread, sometimes like a mucus thread breaking of hope that I did not let go of. No matter what was going on in my life, no matter how many cars I was jumping in and out of, no matter what was happening, I just trusted that I knew I had it in me to somewhere, but I didn't think I did, or I tried to summon it all up or use it and make it happen, and it just never worked. I never raised my hand as a child and said I wanted to become a chaotic drug user. I never raised my hand and said I want to go to prison. I want to suck dick for a fucking living. I want to, and that wasn't all bad, but also it wasn't the best thing either.
Right.
And I don't want to have all those things. I come from an upper middle class background, and had a lot of all the privileges a person could have, and still I had trauma. I had a lot of trauma.
My question is, I always ask this question, even though I ain't gonna say I dibbled or dabbled or whatever. But how high can a person get? Does a person ever think
Not
that they're
enough.
too high?
Yeah,
I mean, too high.
I don't know. I tried. I never did. I tried to get too high all the time.
I know a lot of people tell their
Every time
stories.
I tried to get high, I was trying to get high as I could.
Everybody tell their stories and stuff like that, and I always come with this old corny thing that's about.
I got too fucked up on a few things. Yeah.
A lot of my corny thing is that I probably sample some things, but I could never
Keep
get
going.
too high because it's like
The
it's
paranoia kicks in.
You're chasing a feeling that you can't get again.
Yeah.
And I think once I kind of sampled
Crack
something,
was
I
like
knew
that
it.
for me, and I just was like, nah, because I didn't
Yeah.
want to. I knew, and I smoked plenty of it, but it was. I couldn't ever get too high. I had a humongous habit at the end. I was doing 8 grams of heroin and 3 grams of meth a day, insane amount, injecting in my neck all day long, and.
Zombified.
No,
No?
it wasn't. I was.
Same time to stay well.
I was just staying well, and I had to do so much heroin to stay well that I had to stay awake from all that heroin that was knocking me out, and so that's where the meth came in. Plus, I was out on the streets at night, and I needed to be awake and aware, and it made the sex fun. And so
That's what
that's
keeps
the
them out there.
reality. That's the reality for
that's
people.
what keeps people out there.
And it's a reason people go back to that stuff
That's right.
because it changes
Man, welcome
stuff
to
up.
night shift.
Wow, that's good. Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought it because I look good.
Well,
Nah, no, you don't.
I
You
thought
do,
it
you
'cause
look
I
good.
look good.
but yeah, so
Jokes
I
to tell.
I started. I went after I got arrested. I went back. I got pregnant at the age of 42, like 6 weeks after I got out of jail, and with child number 5, and her name is Grace. She's God's little Grace. She's almost 10, and she was the thing that grounded me. And so as a mom sitting home on the couch, breastfeeding, roasting quinoa, and doing all the things, right? Because I had
Right.
I had walked away from that lifestyle, and yet that was still the people that I felt
The closest to?
closest to,
Yeah.
and those were my
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And because I could come real and raw in who I am, and they never judge, or they,
Yeah,
I could be.
that's
I didn't
true.
have to put on a facade,
Yeah.
and not that I who I am is a bad thing. It's a great thing, but there's so much stigma around stuff,
Being comfortable in the skin.
Yeah, I mean, cannabis is legal, and people get all freaked out when somebody knows you smoke or you.
Not no more.
Yeah, they do.
Just today?
Yeah.
Today?
Yesterday.
Yes.
Where?
Well, I
My-
won't disclose where, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out where.
My family member
Yeah.
who I went to another country with, we went to
okay,
a
country.
cannabis,
That was America.
coffee shop. And, I had ordered enough for all of us to just smoke a joint. And no, just one joint. And I ended up smoking the majority of that joint. My other familial, my aunt, she took maybe one hit and that was it. And then my cousin that I was with took maybe 2 or 3 hits and that was it. And then I also ordered a coffee, and yeah, I couldn't even finish my coffee because they had already wanted to go. And I'm like, why did we come here if we didn't come here to like smoke and
They thought
relax?
you was joking with all that.
Yeah, I was like, oh
Yeah.
man.
Let's
so,
partake. Angie wanted to finish partaking.
Okay, well, hey, well, let's
but anyways, so yeah, there's people with the stigma. It's like you accept it and you accept the benefits that people get from it, or you don't.
Yeah.
And you just have this mindset, and brings me back to this, why I brought this up, because, I brought up the point that I smoke for the reasons that I smoke, and they kind of just like scoffed at me. And I'm like,
Are there
oh,
weed shops
okay,
the same as
so
ours?
it's this kind of family relationship.
Are there weed shops like ours here?
No, ours is way better.
Oh, theirs is good. Oh.
Yeah, ours is better. Well, because where I went, it was like literally a main coffee shop. It's a very popular one. I went to the one that Snoop Dogg visits.
Okay.
So it was called the Bulldog.
Okay.
But yeah, it was still good. It was like $12 for a little gram of like the good quality shit.
That ain't bad. That's better than 20. Like, I don't know, but I'm just saying. I heard like it's about $20 for a good gram. I don't know. I'm just saying.
No.
You pay for it.
Huh?
I said if you pay for it.
Right. Yeah. You pay what you pay for, and
Yep.
you get what you get. So
I mean, do they have
you won't-
nugs or are they shit? Or is
it's
it
not
full flour?
like big flour.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't see too many like electronic devices. Yeah, it's mainly all
This flour,
grass,
basically.
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's continue on with
Okay.
your harm reduction.
So I decided to go back to school. I have a lot of years of college and other things and behind me, and didn't do much with it. And went back to school to become a substance use counselor, and to go to school for social work, because I wanted to work with people. That's what I knew. I had originally at one point wanted to be a sex therapist, and decided, yeah, it's going to be fun. But and then I decided no, because like I can't always want to be that. And so I had decided to go in and become a licensed clinical social worker and do sex aware therapy and work in a specific area. And I still do a lot of that work. I'm not licensed, and I don't do therapy, and I'm not a sex therapist. But I do a lot of work with individuals who are sex workers, chosen profession, and some individuals who've been trafficked. And by work, I mean support and access to resources.
And an ear to listen to.
Yeah. Someone who
Just-
just gets it and doesn't judge and like
someone
knows.
to be there for someone.
And so I went back to school, started this thing, and I had to take a class in my social work class on that was volunteering for 40 hours. And as a former very chaotic substance user of heroin and meth injection, I had accessed the syringe exchange that the city of San Diego had a pilot project through Family Health Centers, and but they have caps on how many syringes you could get and all this. And I had 6. It was 50 or 30. It depended on one for one. You had to turn a syringe in to get one. And the cops always take them. You lose them. You stash them. A million other things. They break. You whatever. And you hide them from your family, and you don't have them to bring back. And so that created a big barrier. So I went around that system, and I had borrowed 6 of my friends' information so that I could get 5 more cards. And I would get 6 people's bags worth of stuff just to make it through, not the week, but because they had the exchange 3 days a week. So 3 days a week, I was getting 200 to 300 needles and big bags of condoms and all the other stuff. And I went through it. And because an injection doesn't just take one syringe, you're putting it in a cooker, and to cook it up and draw it up, and you're going to hit with a syringe, you're going to hit the metal on the cooker or the spoon, and that's going to bend the syringe. And now it's going to hurt going in. Now I'm going to have a bigger hole in my arm where more bacteria can get in. Now there's going to be more scar tissue, and so it sometimes or blood clogs in the thing. I know.
I'm just like, and this is a lifestyle that people.
Well,
It's a
yeah.
lifestyle.
I mean, it didn't start like that. It didn't start like that. I grew up in East County, San Diego, and it was sex and drugs and rock and roll from an early age, and it was punk and metal and methamphetamine being produced in Lakeside, and it was fun times. But it made it so that when I continue, like I kind of eased my way into a lifestyle that made sense. I had been very traumatically sexually molested and assaulted when I was a young child, ritual stuff, and it was really horrifying, and I didn't remember it until I was 21. But before that, I had a lot of behaviors that were very clear, and I learned to think it was me and that I was fucked up, and I had tried to live in that spot, and so things like having sex was a normal thing for me. And then if it was, I can make money doing it, all right. And then
kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah. And then I like to get high. I enjoyed drugs, and so I would do some, and then I would do some more and some more. I'm a balls to the wall person, and then I had a tolerance, and then I couldn't stop.
So that's what I was just thinking, because I'm like, I know we're here for the
Yeah.
harm reduction, but I can see that where the topic comes in for harm, and most people harm themselves like they don't even know they harming themselves, and they go down that road unaware of the harm they bring into themselves.
I was very aware of the harm I was bringing to myself, but also I didn't know what it was till I later on knew the words, but the war on drugs and people is what does a lot of the harm. And so it's so who says that something is good or bad?
Okay.
Who says it, right? Who is the one that stamps it good or bad or positive or negative, soft or hard? What, who is the one? The Chamber of Societies?
The voice on the TV and radio?
Who makes that, right? And why? And so I had a lot of friends that were going to jail, and they weren't doing stuff that was wrong. They were in a room. They were with each other. They were having fun. They were connecting. They were laughing. They were creating memories. They didn't hurt anybody, and they grew as a result. They developed companies. They did all these different things, right? But what made it bad was the laws around it. And so then they would get arrested because they got pulled over for some reason. A lot of people, it's because it's specifically a war on black and brown people, and the war on drugs per Richard Nixon. And
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and I'm not either black or brown, and I come from privilege, and it is not my space to talk about how the marginalization of other people. But I know that I experienced my own shit when I went
Well, most people won't speak on it, and that's how it is, because we all got to live on the things we don't speak on and stuff like that. But I think no matter what color you are harming yourself when you intake so much drugs, and then you choose
when you
to go
do
out.
anything. Yeah. I mean, any of it, right? So if I do too much drugs, okay, and by too much drugs, I mean those drugs have then impaired my ability to.
You might hurt yourself or someone else.
I could be a harm to myself. And what is that?
Else.
And by harm, what does that mean? I'm driving 37 in a 35 zone, and it's really not going to hurt anybody because they made a law that's the number, or is it harming because I'm impaired and I can't see, and I'm not my judgment is delayed, and so I'm not able to drive safely, and I could kill somebody. That's absolutely true. Yeah. Tobacco changes our the way we operate. So does caffeine, and all day long. And I see people drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes going down the freeway, and they still we don't look at that as impaired. And I know that I don't drive as well when I'm have not used a cannabis product at all. Because my anxiety I'm more reactive if I haven't used. So for me, it's better for everyone, including myself, if there's a tiny bit of cannabis on board during certain times. And I don't need to disclose when those times are. But for me, I have learned that works the best. And so absolutely, there's harms that occur. So what harm reduction does is to reduce the harms that people are going to experience or do, and it recognizes that people are going to engage in certain behaviors. People take risks. People do things. People, and what makes them harmful is important to keep in mind. So is it like a health risk and it's really dangerous? That's really important. Is it a harm that maybe the systems were built to stigmatize and keep those people away for their own agenda, which is very much a thing. We had prohibition because people weren't behaving in their homes and all this other stuff. So we cut off alcohol. And then we had this whole branch of the government that took care of that. Then when prohibition was lifted, where did those people go to work? I don't know. They created an organization called the DEA. And that's then when they went to work. Cannabis had been in the U.S. pharmacopoeia as a medication that was very often utilized. And but then after alcohol, then they had to go after jazz singers and everybody else who they couldn't control, who were stirring up people's lives. They were no longer buying into this agenda. They were thinking for themselves. They were speaking up, and they didn't want to have that happening. So they made reefer madness campaigns, and they started calling cannabis, because it's in the thing as cannabis, they started calling it marijuana, which is a derogatory term, and it is very much like aimed at Latino populations. And I have a hard time struggling. Instead of saying weed or marijuana, I say cannabis. Today I can say cannabis all day long, and I don't.
I never knew that.
Yeah, and so like
I ain't said that in no book on the TV or radio, but go ahead.
Yeah, and so I learned all this stuff in school. I learned this stuff by looking at evidence-based, peer-reviewed research. I started to look further and deeper into the why, and social work taught me a lot of that. Doing policy and advocacy has taught me a lot. But I decided to go back and do this volunteer work stuff. And I went back to work at that exchange and tried to change it from the inside, because it was really stigmatizing and it was very high barrier. And I was unable to, and I got employed with them and worked with them, and I continued to attempt to make changes to benefit the people, because there was gaps, and the gaps weren't with the people. The gaps were with the organizations, the systems that are built, the policies and procedures that organizations have that chokehold somebody from doing a thing, for whoever they're working with, And so I pivoted over to working as a case manager in a substance use treatment facility and doing substance use treatment and doing sexual health and recovery groups and a lot of stuff. And I worked with arsonists, and I worked with sex offenders, and I worked with all kinds of people. And
your scope is long.
And they thank you. They're people just like all of us, and everybody has their story, and everybody has their things that they're great at, and everybody has their things they're not so great at, and they need some support, and everyone has trauma. The thing is, we all have our own windshield of life that we have our own perspective through, and I can't tell you what your perspective is. You can't tell me what mine is, because I didn't live your life.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, I just sitting back thinking, I was you keep saying social work. I was just saying there because I've been working, I don't know if it's called social work or working with people for like 30 years. And I still have this problem that there's a lot of people that want to get in this field and want to help and do this and that, but they don't pay you enough money to keep you happy to where you can enjoy this job to go on and keep doing it.
We're fighting for that money.
I think that it's just hearing you and the work that you do, you probably don't get paid enough, and a lot of people don't get paid enough. So it's just discouraging to hear people, like you say something good about this and want to do this and that, but if someone else off the street would to hear this and they say, "Oh, I want to become a social worker, become like her," but they start to try to be like you, but they don't get paid no money, so they get discouraged, and then they can't even have the opportunity to help people.
Right. This happens all day long. We have a lot of programs that have peer workers. I have a peer employee basis, and I have a hard time hiring them away from other places who are paying them more because I don't have the funds. And I had this job, and it was illegal to do harm reduction in San Diego County. Illegal. And the county, because they had a ban for 27 years on harm reduction and syringe services in the county of San Diego. And so even though there was a program that operated within the city, it was part of a city piloted project, and it was all these things around it. And I had been doing some work around Hep C advocacy with the Eliminate Hep C initiative for the county. and I had already been distributing syringes and wound care and doing street-based medicine stuff out of my garage from friends in the Bay Area would mail me stuff down, and I lived in City Heights, and I would just I would like go out though, and I'd see people, and I'd like, here's the stuff that you need, so you're not going to have HIV when you get out of this. And we lobbied for a bunch of money. We went to the state of California during the California Opiate Rapid Response and Education Initiative.
Oh, that's making a change.
And we lobbied and we got $15.2 million for harm reduction. And that money was then going to be distributed through the National Harm Reduction Coalition to be to distribute it. But you had to be an authorized syringe service program. And you had to either have a fiscal sponsor or be a nonprofit.
Some loopholes.
And I was not either. So I quit my fucking job and I went on Swift Filings Online and filed a nonprofit thing for like $1,200. It was during EDD. I used my ex-husband's EDD money to pay for it. And then I applied to the state of California because the state has a public health emergency for this exact thing, and the state authorized my program while it was still illegal in San Diego. And we had continued to go to the Board of Supervisors. We had been going for a long time, and it was continuing to be shot down. And finally, we had a change in guard. Diane Jacobs left, and we had a new person come in, and the board changed. And then on January 21st, 2020. Or January 26th, 2021, so just over 3 years ago, we got the county reversed the ban on syringe service program and named the day after me. And
that is amazing.
Our son was
so this is all still really recent and fresh. Like that's amazing.
So I leveraged a bunch of money to start this and did all this stuff. And then I applied for that grant, the grants for the syringe service programs. And I got it. I got $400,000 for 3 years. I wrote the grant, the budget, all of it. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm a good writer, but I didn't know budget stuff. I can do it, but it was like brain mush. And so I started it, got that funding, did it out of the back of my car in my house for a long time. And then we grew, and we then the county had a request for proposal out for the naloxone distribution for the county of San Diego to be the contractor to distribute naloxone. And
how ironic.
So how about this team of drug users, women, natives, just a whole merry band of us. I was awarded the county contract for naloxone distribution. So we currently have, and this is stuff that it wasn't, they didn't tell us how the program was going to go. We told them this is what we're going to do.
Better. Yeah.
And so each year, we are slated to deliver a certain amount of trainings, and those go to law enforcement and schools and community organizations and everything across the board. And we were supposed to give out 33,000 kits a year, and I had argued that number was not anywhere close to what was going to work, and I wanted to have them do 174,000. And they told me I was high, and basically, and I because I had done the math, and so this last year we got out 100,000 kits of naloxone into the hands of the people, and that's more than any other program in the United States right now. And that's the first place I've ever said that in public. I'm not a person to brag or boast, so I don't share that stuff.
That's nothing to be humbling about.
I have a question, if I can, because I've been thinking about this all this time. Do people turn you down when you try to approach them, or is there?
I don't try to approach.
Well, I'm talking about. Okay, well, I don't know. I was just saying with the care packages and stuff you get. Do you get a lot of people that say, "Oh, no, we don't have time for this," or is it an easy process just to reel them in and have them?
Yeah. So I started this syringe service program, and so that's first what we did was I have a mobile needs-based syringe service program. So we give out safe smoking and injecting supplies, wound care, hygiene, blankets, tarps, tents, fish bait, shoes, food, whatever people need, and linkages to all kinds of treatment and stuff, drug checking, everything. And we also have an 800 number, and people call us. We 24 hours a day. If you call my phone,
what is that
I'll
number?
answer it. That we have 1-888 Narcan 0, and that one I think is down until tomorrow morning. But it's our number that rings to my phone. Also, I have my phone number, which is 619-961-0527. You call, I'll answer that phone, and I'll
24/7?
Yeah, I'll stay on the phone with you if you're using and you're alone. I don't want you to die. And I lost 60 friends last year. 60. And by friends, I mean the people that I work with, the people that I know, and I lost a lot of participants.
I thought you were gonna say Facebook friends.
No.
I was worried.
So I have we grew and we grew, and today we in the first 2 years we grew 685%. I think we have 9 contracts or 7. I don't even know. We have a BIPOC stimulant and opiate education grant. We have a low barrier medication assisted treatment grant. So Suboxone on the streets, and we'll pay for it, pick it up, bring it back to them. We want to get the barrier low. We want to get people, hooked up. Harm reduction meets people right where they're at, and realizes that.
That they're doing harm to themselves.
No, like we're all doing harm to ourselves. Not a single one of us lives life perfectly.
Exactly.
And so, but we don't go around and judge somebody who's got heart disease because they're eating at Denny's. We don't have a judgment about that, or we don't deny them services, or we don't set up these places and just it's a thing.
Only reason why I said hold up, wait a minute, because the only harm reduction I believe in is treating people like I want to be treated.
There you go.
So that's the only thing I know. But the rest of it, I agree with,
No, but
with you
that's
on.
what it is.
But
That's
I try
what
to
it
treat
is.
people
So-
like I want to be treated.
So if I'm on the streets and I'm, like struggling, because I'll tell you, every time I was out on that corner flying a sign, it was the most humiliating, horrific, awful experience. And it crushed me over and over and over again. It broke me. And I don't know how I made it out. I really don't. And I know the one thing that I can look back on and remember is those very few times that somebody stopped and talked to me. Mm-hmm.
They gave a damn, huh?
So harm reduction is meeting people where they're at, treating them with kindness and dignity and respect, unconditional positive regard, being able to recognize that we're all one choice away from something worse or something better.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, I think that the more I listen to you, the more I've been sitting here, it goes to show how when people don't step out their world, or they don't have the chance to fall and stumble and get up, they don't understand what else going on out in the world, or what other people are doing to try to keep themselves in the world, as far as doing drugs and so forth.
I mean, people have always done things to alter their consciousness, to alter their, thing, whether it's running, whether it's doing all kinds of things. So the drugs are a thing people have always done.
Like adrenaline.
They make certain parts of our brain light up. Maybe we have a deficit naturally of something, and a substance turns that, fixes
Turns it on.
that.
Yeah.
And that's a very real thing. Like all the medicines you get from your doctor are drugs. Those are also drugs. They're just legal drugs that are given out from a pharmacy, and you know how much you're getting every time because it's regulated. In Canada, they have people have regulated supply, and they don't die.
I know
But you know
that
what?
I try not to get too drunk because it makes me horny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of people.
I'm just joking.
A lot of people, they know people's story, but
Allegedly.
but they don't know they know people's glory, but they don't know people's story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you come with a powerful story, you know what I'm saying? And did that drive you to where you're at now and keeps you waking up in the morning?
Yeah, because I turned all that pain that I experienced into purpose. And
Exactly.
after I got arrested and after I was done with all that, I walked back into that fire with water. I escaped it somehow, and I didn't forget
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
my
the
fallen
best part.
comrades. I did not forget them because nobody was coming for me.
Exactly.
So I also know that no one else is coming for anybody else except for us.
Exactly.
And you was brave. I still think here today you're being brave, because everything you're doing takes a brave person to do it. To talk to someone about what's going through, and then for me, the bravest part is for you to keep going every day, knowing that you can fall back, knowing that you can slide, and knowing that you're around.
But you know,
I'm just when I say
whenever
that,
you're
because
passionate-
I not to be negative about that, but knowing that you can walk around those people and still not fall into what they're doing, or let their situation take you back, and they can always see that you're strong. That's why I say, because I know that a lot of friends that I have that do drugs and stuff, and they do around me, I might not share this and that story, but they'll look at me and say, oh, and I look at them and like, oh, you can be brave too. But a lot of people don't want to be brave. So that's why I say, looking at you now, I see how the braveness in you that you carry and your shine that you shine. So I know when to reach out to the people and touch them, because if you can share what you're sharing and be able to still walk around like you said and don't have that
All
shame
day.
no more, that's a blessing.
Yeah, it
and
is
you're
a
a very
huge
brave
blessing.
person.
And that's why I talk about what I talk about. I want to give other people permission to be vulnerable and
To open up.
transparent and
Exactly.
honest, and to stop stigmatize, so that they just stop that self-stigmatizing behavior that we have. For people who access programs like mine are 4 to 5 times more likely to enter into treatment, because guess what? They're accessing our program.
Exactly.
They're not going anywhere, and then they're feeling better about themselves because somebody cares for a minute. Somebody's reminding them that they matter.
Exactly.
Somebody's asking them about their life and hiking. That's what brought me out of it. Was the gentleman working at the syringe exchange would ask me about hiking, and that was the one thing that I held on to, was that, like, hiking. And right before I got arrested, I had made a plan to, like, next time I see you, I'm going to hike. Do you know that me and that gentleman still have a plan to hike? And it's been years and years, and we still, like, keep this date for hiking. And it's a thing. I don't ever feel like using is a thing for me. And why is because I walked through my trauma. I also have utilized psychedelics as
Mushrooms?
microdosing as it really helps with, if you think of your brain as a ski slope, and the slopes you're going down, like you get back on the snow, you're going to go down that slope that's already been down a bunch of times. That's addiction. You're going to get on that slope. That's the one you're going to go on. You're going to go straight down the hill. Well, like psychedelics, certain ones intentionally in different ways can, like, snow over the whole mountain. So there's no prior pathway for you to be, like, not a reward pathway for you to do this thing. And so there's a lot of research around, a lot of work around it. So I had small amounts over time. Has really benefited my relationship with substances. And then I went back and re-examined my relationship with substances and what it was all about and why I used the things I used. And you know, heroin does not look good to me today, and neither does meth, neither does any of that stuff. Cannabis, yeah, I was never a drinker when I was younger. Today I like a cider here and there. But I also don't get to, I'm brave, but I'm not brave enough according to some 12-step program.
What?
And so
That is true.
And so
Let
I
me
walked
say that.
away from 8 years in a program like that to 8 years and 7. I've had lots of chunks of time, but I'm happier today in my life. It's been 5 years since I've, like, reimagined my relationship with stuff, and I get to watch the, like, 6,000 to 10,000 people we serve all the time. I get to watch them get housed. I get to watch them stay alive.
That's right.
You know, we have
They're the
100,000.
survivors, huh?
Yeah, we got about 110,000 people dying a year in the United States from overdose, and that's like a 757 crashing every day, that's way too many people. And so I am out there in a war that we don't even talk about, and I'm out there being the boots on the ground and distributing naloxone and fentanyl test strips and keeping people safe and alive. We've got 16 vending machines around San Diego County, first 4 on tribal land in the U.S., first 4 Smart One iPad technology in the jails, and we have a drug checking program. I have an infrared spectrometer you can throw your substance on and see what's in it. And you know that nobody's drug use has increased or got worse. People's drug use has diminished or changed, or they've learned how to mitigate the risks that they have, and their lives have improved and on their timeline with what they're working with. And you know, people will change when they're ready. And then there's a big fat and when the circumstances allow. If you wanted to go to detox today, there's 24 beds in the county of San Diego. That's a really long wait list for people. What are people going to do between now and when they can?
They're going to use.
Yes. And what are we going to do to keep them alive? I don't know. Give them fentanyl test strips, put their drugs on the machine, talk to them about how much they're using and how to use safer so that they don't die. So we talk to people about going slow, don't use alone, do a test shot, like know what's going on, carry naloxone.
The old breaks, all the
And-
regular
No,
breaks. Everybody likes to play stuff and nice
Yeah.
and quiet and okay.
I mean,
Okay.
like, why should we
Yeah.
be? We don't need to, you know.
Okay, we're going to take a little break here and get back to her again because, man, she has a lot of good information. And like I said, man, you guys really need to pay attention because she's a head full of information. And we need you guys to get a hold to it because she's coming back. And good to have you. And like I said, hey, You're the bomb. You know what I'm saying? And we'll be right back. Hey, hold on. Why don't you tell them again where they can find you?
Oh, you can find me at you can find us at Harm Reduction Coalition of San Diego, hrcsd.org, or 1-888-NARCAN-0. You can email me at harmredux, REDUX, SD like San Diego, at gmail.com, or you can just look up Harm Reduction Tara, and you'll find me in one way or another.
That's right. But you know what? Hey, we'll be right back with Tara again and Harm Reduction Coalition.
This the R today, the Y to the J signing out.
All right, we're back. I'm saying from our break, and like I said, once again, we're here talking with Tara from Harm Reduction Coalition, and man, she's giving a lot of good information. And Tara, let's we're back. Let's talk more about okay. You were supposed to come on here last time we were did with Say San Diego.
Yeah.
And you were in another country.
I was in Mexico City. I finally got my passport. Woohoo!
Can you talk to us about why you were there in Mexico and what that have to do with?
So I have a drug checking program, and we have that infrared spectrometer we can test drugs with, and I work with a number of individuals around the world with drug checking stuff. And one of them is an individual, Jaime Lira, who is Arredondo, who is a professor at University of Victoria, British Columbia, and he's an expert on fentanyl for the Canadian government. And he lives in Playas de Tijuana. He's a Mexican citizen, and he's a researcher out of UCSD. He's a doctor in substance use, interdisciplinary substance use, something. But it's a 6-year, it's a big program. Okay. And so he is a student. He was a student of Dr. Stephanie Strathdee, who is a researcher, one of the world's 50 top women scientists, actually. And so I work with Stephanie. I'm a researcher also.
You guys are so great.
And so I have been doing research on looking at cross-border drug tourism and epidemiological data. So like HIV, Hep C. We've been looking at fentanyl during COVID. We looked at people who COVID vaccination hesitancy among people who inject. And these are all NIH, National Institute of Health, or National Institute of Drug Abuse funded studies that we work on. And so we're out gathering information, and we're delivering evidence-based interventions. And as a result of all that research and the very groundbreaking work that we're doing as an organization, we had the INL, and I didn't know what INL stood for, come out and take a look at our program because they wanted to replicate it. Jaime had brought them. Turns out INL is the International Narcotics Law Enforcement and Trafficking thing, and it is with the U.S. State Department and the Mexican government. And so the Mexican government had invited me to come down, me and Narcan Nate, who was here a few weeks ago, and then Amy Knox, my COO. They had Nate works for me, so he has been a great addition to our team. And so the three of us were invited to Mexico to present in different panels about this stuff in the first, or I think it was the second ever synthetic drug consumption conference put on by the Mexican government. Ken Salazar was there, the U.S. What is he, the ambassador to Mexico right now, I think. And I got to talk to the Mexican DEA, the head of the Mexican DEA, and chop it up with them. And that was who gets to fucking do that stuff?
Exactly.
Right.
I was all paranoid going to get my passport because not my passport, the documents that the Mexican government wanted, because it's like the U.S. the Mexican consulate is who paid for us, who picked us up, who did our whole thing. Like, it was no joke. And it was.
It wasn't like you were just taking a trip
Oh,
across
no.
the border.
No.
It was like an official
in Mexico City,
visit.
and it was an official thing, and it was a room full of hundreds of the top law enforcement and military officials in the Mexican government, and it was all of their cabinet, and it was a very important thing. Like, it's groundbreaking work that we're doing. So we're going to be doing a program where we only will be sharing aggregate data. There will be no individual data that can be used to police individuals or prosecute people.
That's right.
But
Harm reduction.
looking at aggregate data. So are these drugs being cut on this side of the border, adulterated, or on this side of the border? Like, how do we keep our people safe, and where is this like thing happening? So there's a drug checking program that's going to be in Tijuana in Previn Casa, and that's a sister organization.
I just have a question.
Hold on. Hey, you know what? And I'm gonna let you go. But you know what, man? This is what I'm talking about. This is what Night Shift Radio is all about. You mean having people come on here that you normally don't hear somewhere else. You mean, and for us to be able to showcase you, man, we applaud you because you're doing a hell of a lot of work out there, and just you doing you, like, man, you're saving lives. And us as us as Night Shift, you know, we're like, you know, that's what we're in it for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To get people like you to come on here and share your information, your blessings. You know what I'm saying? Because none of us get here pretty. You know what I'm saying? You have the same passion that I have as far as when I started gangs. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? When I started Positive Gentlemen, you know, and I gangbanged for so many years. Exactly. I gangbanged for so many years, and I had love for it because I don't leave my homies behind.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's why when I heard your story,
a better path for
exactly.
that.
And when I heard your story, I was like, man, she sounds a lot like me. Let's get her on here. You know what I mean? And that was a good call on Night Shift because you are the bomb.
I want to remind folks out there, this is why I do what I do. I want to remind folks not to give up hope, because I was them. I was no different than everybody that I drive by on the streets today. Not any different.
That's right.
And what was different was somebody didn't give up hope on me. Didn't
Give up on you.
No, like everyone had given up on me, but somebody saw me and they talked to me, and you know what? It was that thing thing alone. Didn't matter which programs. I've been in every program in this county over and over again. It wasn't the programs. It wasn't me being ready. It wasn't wanting to. It wasn't knowing it was bad for me. It wasn't any of that stuff. It was having somebody remind me.
See you as a future you.
Yeah.
You
And
saying?
I want to remind people, I go out with the women and I tell them to stand with me like Wonder Woman, and I have them get up and stand up, and we do the Wonder Woman pose, and I tell them, I have them repeat after me, I remember who the fuck I am. I am here. I can survive. I can do hard things.
Night Shift.
Yeah. Like, I remind people of that. I tell them, don't give up hope. Like, I am you. If I can do it, fuck, you can do it. I was nuts.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was just going to comment on two things too, is that because I was going to say that earlier, is that listening to you, and if I was a person that was trying to get my life together, I would appreciate having a conversation with you, because a person can see their self in you, and they can see their self trying to change, to be motivated, to be like you, to have your enthusiasm, have your love for life, even though life doesn't exist in them at that moment.
Well, you know, so much of us have this internal dialogue with ourselves that who we are as we are is not good enough. I think we all struggle with that. Like, I'm not good enough for, I'll never be good enough for this thing. Or like, in a relationship, like, oh, this part of me isn't good enough for them. Or when, like a job, like, oh, it wasn't good enough for this thing. We have this internal, I'm not good enough. I'm not the right size.
Self-sabotage.
Yeah, we self-sabotage. It's a human thing. And if we don't have that, like, a thing to remind us that actually, like,
You have to have the voice of reason.
sometimes our voices have us really fucked up, because you know what, we've gotten proven over and over again when the systems leave us behind that we must not be worth it. We must not be enough. And all we really want to do, because this is one of my biggest fears, and probably yours if you were to look at it, is that you're going to show up with all that you've got, and then that's not going to be enough. Or people are going to find out who you really are, and they're not going to like you. And that's a shitty feeling, right? You know, so when folks on the streets, or folks that are using or chaotically, or people who are struggle,
Got mask on.
yeah, you know, like they have had to change who they are, because who they are in their mind is like, that's why they're there in this spot. So like, to be seen for just who you are right there and like celebrated for, like, fuck yeah, you've got your tent hooked up, like you've got it going on for right where you are.
Right.
Like that's the stuff, is like, how are you right where you are, slaying it the best you can.
So how do you cause see, for me, I want the question, how do people who are not like you,
What do you mean by like
Thomas,
me?
you're fired.
I know.
people who come from, I'll put it to you like this, not like, I shouldn't say like you, people that come
My
from
alarm.
different backgrounds or never been through this, or going through, they never been through the stuff the people going through that you're helping and this and that, but they want to reach out and help you, but they feel like they can't relate, and the people that you want to help them won't respect them. So how do you join those two things
Oh,
together?
real pretty simple. So I find out what people's skills are, and maybe you're not comfortable doing that, right? You want to help, but you aren't like comfortable doing this thing. Guess what? I have a shit ton of flyers that I need tri-folded. I have 200 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that I need bagged up. I have, you know, cookies for Christmas. I went out and bought 300 stockings at the dollar store and a ton of stuff: tuna, paracord, duct tape, batteries, the stuff that we really need on the streets, right? And then I bought stuff that we would get as kids, or that you like in a stocking, the thing you're like, yay, chocolate or candy cane or chapstick or pencil or whatever it might be.
Oranges.
We did. And then my mom and dad and my mom's church, they hand make, they made 600 this year, cookies, handmade, homemade Christmas cookies, and packaged them up in bundles of 2. And this is the first year my dad didn't do the writing on it, but usually he would handwritten notes like, you are enough, you're loved, never give up hope, and put them inside the cookies. And we bag up all these stockings and take them out on the streets and distribute them to people. And those kinds of things, donate, do a drive wherever you're at. Whatever it is, you can help. We take it all, and we will find a way to have you help. And if you can't, this is what I do ask of people who might want to make a change but can't commit to a thing, is when you're out and about in the world and you see somebody out there sitting on the sidewalk by themselves or with a bunch of people or whatever, you see somebody who just, it's you look a second time, or you just, you know what, stop and ask them their name, stop and tell them yours, get a little bit more information.
That happened to me today. I started to do that. I seen this guy, and he was looking homeless, like his little drugs, and someone was like, because he was in a wheelchair, someone was like, I need to go approach him, help him. Then I went in the store and I came out, I couldn't find him. Then I seen him again, he was on the phone, and I was like, nah, if I might be disturbing this peace, or I might be doing too much, or is it just my guilt for me to want to help somebody? Am I going to be a sucker? And it was a little dilemma I had
Did
today.
you help him? Did you talk to him?
No, by the time I came out, he was talking to someone that came and approached him. I guess he was meeting someone or something like that. So
Okay.
I was like, okay, he's this and that. But I let go. But I almost did that today. I don't know what it was in me. It was just some said that, just about, but I didn't want to misjudge him. It was like a double-edged sword, because half of me was like, do this, the other half was like,
You
no.
don't have to approach him like he's unhoused or
Exactly.
there's a thing going on.
Like a
You can
regular
just,
person.
just say like, hey, I just
What's your
felt
name?
drawn to you, and I wanted to, my name's so and so, and I was like, and talk to him for a minute, and then let it steer from there. But if we talk for a minute, I encourage people to give them your phone number. Number one, they're not going to call you, and number two, if they do, then you've made an impact on their lives. And they have a connection with you, and they have mustered up so much
courage.
bravery and courage to pick up that phone and call you, that you're going to want to show up above and beyond for that person, because you're going to feel called to do something. But just sitting and having that conversation with a person and then go back and look for them again, Find out in a couple weeks, like, hey, I brought you back a sandwich. Find out what their favorite food is. Take them out to get, so you don't have to go with them, but like bring a thing to them. Find out if they need something. It doesn't have to cost money. It might be something you already have or have a resource to get, or you could put on Facebook and gather. It might just be that what they needed to talk about was that this was the 12th anniversary of their dog dying, and it was a really hard day for them. And you come to find out your dog is at the vet right now, and you're
Getting ready to
struggling.
die.
And you know what? That's how it happens, because every time there's something that I don't know how I make it through all this stuff, but I do know that every interaction that I have with individuals, I come away so much richer and just touched, and I don't worry where my income comes from, because I live an abundant life, and it's a mindset, and it's also a direct result of my life is a gift from the universe, and what I do with it back is my gift back. And I have a good feeling when I lay my head, because you know how many nights I laid my head on the pillow if I went to sleep and felt good about myself? Not too many. And it's not that I feel good about myself. I feel good about the world that I'm leaving my kids, because there's some hope for people. There's some hope for people. I'm raising kids and into a world and a new grandson into a very different world than we grew up in. And the reality of it is, fentanyl's everywhere, and we're focused on fentanyl right
We're gonna
now.
right there too.
But guess what?
Fighting with you
guess
guys.
what? Xylozine's on the uptick, and that's a whole wound thing. It causes all kinds of stuff. But we have PCP that we're seeing on our
Coming back.
And we have a lot of laws changing around conservatorship and mental health and substance use disorder, and taking away people's rights, and the ADA just changing it to being allowing to discriminate against people for substance use disorder, jobs, housing, anything. And if we look at all of that and looking back, I don't know, at the United States history on war and drugs and people,
always been
we are walking into something real gnarly, and I'm raising kids for that. So I raise them today like they're going into the Hunger Games.
The cycle is still spinning. My question I want to get back to earlier is that you mentioned you guys have this special machine that check drugs and stuff like that. So that means if I'm a person, I have drugs, I can come call you guys, bring my drugs to you, and you can check them and tell me
bring
if
it to you,
and you can check them and tell if they're real without the police and all this other type of
we
stuff.
are authorized to do so. We're authorized through the state California Department of Public Health authorized program. We are doing research with UCSD. It's
How y'all get the word out to people on the streets not to be scared and think they're gonna go to jail for getting their drugs checked?
It's silly. Word travels. Like, I'll get a random call on my 800 number, and it's somebody who got some pills or going to Coachella. They bought 4 Mollies,
They
and
want to check.
12 people are going to split them up and do them. And I'm like, fuck, that's 12 people that one of them could die. Fentanyl chocolate
Your
chips.
phone
So it
ain't
might
tapped.
be more in one part than the other. And
Your phone,
Putting on
ain't tapped.
chocolate chips.
yeah.
Your phone is not tapped, but go ahead.
Well, yes, it is. They all are.
They're always listening.
But I mean, that's the fucking U.S. government knows what we're doing. They're the ones that are at our stuff. I also do not trust all the things and all the people, so we always build in parameters.
She still got the street savvy.
That's what I
Oh
said.
yeah.
You got to get
Oh
street
yeah.
savvy. Get that.
And, so we make sure that when we're out doing services, we'll roll up with our. I bring the machine here. I'll bring it to your hotel room. I'll take it in the riverbed. I'll be in my vehicle. It's a $60,000 piece of equipment, but it's no bigger than that board right there. And
Where they find you at?
and
All this good love and service.
that online, I show up. I'm people's answered prayers. I
can
hear that
tell.
from people all the time. Like, you're my answered prayer. When I prayed for my son for the last 2 years, and today, he's doing really well. Like, because he accessed your services, you are the first person, and he speaks specifically about you, Tara, the first person who understood what he was talking about, the first person who knew what it was like to have to walk through these things. And today, he's got an amazing job. He's housed. Like, I have so many success stories. And even if on the outside, people's lives might not look like they've changed a whole lot, they have. They have changed. I have one participant, and I will say his name, Billy. He knows it. He's on the front page with me all the time.
Billy.
Billy is fucking badass, and he still lives right where he lives, and he always has been there, or not always, been there for a long time, and he doesn't want to be in all these other spaces because housing is hard for people. We don't have a homeless problem. We have a housing crisis.
Yes.
That was gonna go to my other thing, which they kind of go together, because a lot of people are going to jail for drugs and they ain't did nothing else, and they housing them in jail instead of putting them in programs.
That's
So a lot of people. That's what I don't understand, because
the programs aren't available, and the workforce to staff those is completely tapped out. Burnout. You brought it in earlier. Like, people take on the trauma of, right. So if you're out in the streets every single day doing street outreach for a let's just say Father Joe's or Alpha Project or Family Health Centers or one of the bigger organizations that does street outreach, if you are out there day in and day out, guess what? You're going to be hearing a lot of stories, a lot of things. You're going to build connection with a lot of people. And if you're a caring human being, it's going to impact you. And it's really going to impact you when you have trauma or stuff that's been similar. And so you might have had a childhood in foster care, and you're working with somebody who's also been in foster care, and you relate for something. And then something goes on with them, and it doesn't work out the way you'd intended. They don't stay in services. They leave. They die. You're bummed. Devastated over and over and over again, especially when you're barely getting paid and you can't hardly pay your bills. You're one paycheck away from being your own client. Exactly. And exactly. And I mean, I know a lot of outreach workers that live in their cars, a lot of them, and it's nuts.
That's why, I was a drug and alcohol counselor for almost 10 years.
That's where I know you from.
At New Connections.
That's where I know you from. That's it. I know it. I knew it.
Yeah, I was Thomas, it said that's what got me out of the field, and that's when me start my own stuff.
It's the policies of all the organizations, because the participants will show up ready to go. They want to make it better, but the probation, the parole, the program, you can't test positive more than this many times or you're done. And there might be a legit reason, or there might not. Maybe it's the fifth time that it'll be on the fifth time that it'll be negative, and they'll make it, but we've cut them out on the third time. And it's judging people. It's stigmatizing people. We have a ton of people who are 12-step fellowship members who work in treatment, and it's all or nothing. It's a very black or white. And for some people, cannabis works, and you would not fit in with those people. You would be very judged and stigmatized. Yeah. I've lost friends of 30 plus years, a good chunk. I've lost a lot of friends to recovery.
I think,
and that's another
a whole other thing.
One day I want to get someone to come in and still come, because I still want to understand how someone can buy some drugs on the street, get caught with their drugs, but have a certain amount. They put them in jail for a year or two, but don't give them no treatment in jail. Then they get drugs in jail, and they come back home, they're the same person. It's not really helping society or them.
Because that's the prison industrial complex, and people are paid. It's free labor, and it's a whole lot of other things. It's a school to prison pipeline shit. It's a lot more. It's all of it. I'm telling you, they don't want them to succeed.
No.
If they wanted them to succeed, they fucking would.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. They don't want them to.
Because
guess what? We're a population that they don't like.
Yeah, and guess what?
It's not even a soft genocide on people anymore. It's a very, very obvious, funded by the U.S. pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah, and because of the industry that prison guards, that's the highest paid union in the world.
The biggest cartel.
Yes, and the biggest cartel. And they sit there and they want you to come back. They took all the schooling out. I mean, not schooling, but they took all the trades.
All the trades out, everything. Now you work.
Yep.
But so we have your program.
8 cents.
We have your program that's literally doing what they can do, or what can be done to keep people out of jail.
Yep.
So it just makes me mad when I think about all these regular people that can't get to your program, but get caught with the drugs and can't do this thing, but they're going to end up getting 6-7 years and they don't get no treatment and come back and do the same thing.
Not so much. We work really closely with attorneys, and we work well with prosecutors in terms of like a person is in jail or they're getting ready to be whatever, and if they let them know they're part of our program, and we tell every one of our participants, hey, make sure if this happens, like you have this stuff, we'll let you know. And then word of mouth spreads. So you might not have been a participant of mine at all, but you're in jail and you got word that you can call Tara and you will have been a member of her program, but you're going to be when you get out. That's why we have our vending machines right outside the jail so that people can immediately access our services and get Narcan and fentanyl test strips so they don't overdose and die.
Exactly.
And then we make sure that people have access to like we are the safety net that we're like the in between. You know, abstinent based treatment's one end of the spectrum. Chaotic substance use is the other. But people move along that spectrum all the time, and there's no services there.
Yeah.
And so we are that place that fills the gap. If you have been not using for 10 years and then for something happens and you go back to using, well, guess what? We're the ones there that like catch you and be like,
Great,
hey, like,
great.
let's get to the place you want to be. Let's keep you alive in the meantime.
Exactly. And did you have any questions?
I wanted to kind of ask, so because you are a company and you know, have people calling you to test, you know, if there's stuff for, you know, those big music venues, do
yeah.
you guys have people to go out to like these big concert venues and activities, and is it like a booth that you can go to, or is
So
it more
fucking cool
or more
So
discreet?
We do like so I get invited by promoters and the bands themselves. I had Eddie Vedder call me a year and a half ago and do Ohana in Dana Point with Stevie Nicks and Pink and Eddie Vedder and a whole bunch of people. But we do large venues. I do Bayfests, all the Bayfests, a lot of Petco Park stuff. A lot of small bars, a lot of venues, Hillcrest, all over the place. So we go out. It depends on the venue. Like if it's a bar in Hillcrest, like Flicks or Riches, we're in there. I'm in fishnets and all kinds of stuff, and I'm up there talking on stage about what a freak I am, and then talking about how important it is to carry naloxone because fentanyl and blah blah blah. And that's one conversation because that's a population that I'm talking to. But then at like let's say last year at Bayfest with Sublime with I think it was Sublime last year, I don't remember, but we're backstage testing the band's drug supply also, and
Allegedly.
no, I mean we
just
do, and they invite us back
Allegedly.
there, and then we get to go up on stage and talk about harm reduction and throw naloxone out in the field. I provide the medics, the first aid. We're usually the first booth right after first aid, and they sponsor us to be there. And our services are 1,000,000% free. You will never pay for anything that comes from us. And if we can't afford it, it comes out of my pocket, or I find a way to get it for you.
Wow.
Like fish bait. People need fish bait. Why? Well,
catch fish.
because they don't want to steal and they're hungry.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking with all the stuff out there on the internet and all the stuff going on, why they ain't got you out there promoting you with the positivity that you bring into the world. You need to be, your program needs to be out there just like a
has
Coca-Cola
been-
commercial.
It has been, and I pulled back this last year. I went on like this little miniature sabbatical that I didn't even realize was a sabbatical because my burnout was so
Oh, I've been
gnarly.
there, yes,
And my
yes.
burnout, it was like the 14th round of insane burnout. And but it's my blood. This is the hill I will die on, and I am in my boots. I will die with my boots on, and I will. This is my legacy. This is my thing, and it's my blood type.
So is the burnout kind of like you see yourself doing too much or not enough?
Oh no, I see myself. No, it doesn't look like that at all.
Okay,
I mean, it
okay.
can. Like the year prior to this last year, I was doing 3 or 4 events a week, big ones, and running a program all by myself, and not all by myself. I had like 1 or 2 coworkers or one coworker and some staff. I've had to try to search to find employees. I've had like
Okay.
there's a whole lot of shit that it's been a lot, and I had ramped up so quickly and created something huge from nothing, and changed laws and got policy. Last year we got fucking $61 million from the state of California for harm reduction. I did that with a handful of other people, and that's big shit. This year we're going after more in next month, and to be able to fund programs like this so that people aren't doing it out of the back of their house, that there is some like access to the support that we need, because we had 1,305 people die in the county in 2022. We had 1,304 die in 2021 of overdose. That number is not plateaued. It's not like, oh, we've capped off. That number would have been exponentially much higher had we not distributed so many hundreds of or tens of thousands of kits of naloxone into the community of San Diego.
And that's people from all walks of life,
Every
that number?
single one. Yep. Drug use doesn't discriminate.
Exactly.
Overdose
That's
doesn't
what I was just
discriminate.
making sure of, because most people think it just apply to certain people, certain groups and
no,
stuff.
trauma doesn't. Doesn't
Hey, so what are some of the highlight things you want to say before we end up wrapping it up that you really want to get out
Touch
there?
on.
I want to ask people to please just be a little bit kinder and offer more grace to individuals, and to look beyond what you see, and to recognize that whatever we have been doing for the last 30, 40 years hasn't been working, and that it's time that we think outside the box, and that we don't need to be afraid. What we need to do is open up our hearts, because a little bit of love goes a really long way.
Yeah.
And remember, just be the person that you need for you, and be the person that others need for themselves. But at the end of the day, like, if it doesn't feel right for you, don't do it. And if it's a shitty thing you're doing, well, I don't want any part of that. But,
Exactly.
but like, if you're gonna be adding to the energy on this planet for this day, are you adding to that in a way that's impacting other people's lives? Are you being selfish? Are you thinking about others suffering? Are you compassionate? Are you kind? Are you being of service? Are you humble? And look at your why. What's the why behind what you're doing? And my why is everybody just needs. My why is I needed some more love. I needed to feel
And because
love
because some people's
and safe.
because some people's how is bigger than their why, but the why always has to be bigger. Because I know why we do this podcast, because we want to help people get their information out there, and just be a platform, for all types. That's why we're Night Shift, so we can talk to people like you can come on here and there's no holds bar. You know what I'm saying? Say what you feel. So you can cuss, you can do whatever you want to do. However you have to communicate your message. You know what I'm saying? Because we apply to all. We don't look at nobody as doing too much. Whenever you come on here. So like I said, man, you've done amazing things out there, and like I said, we want to thank you. And
Freedom of expression.
Go ahead.
It's freedom of expression, and also the more you talk about something, it's more of a light that you become yourself, and you see a light switches in your way of thinking, and that causes you to then start making changes and start growing and start thinking, okay, well, if it's not just about me, then that also has to spread into those around me.
We're not just a bunch of individuals living this individual lives and like operating individual of each other. We are in community. Whether we like it or not, whether we realize it or not, whether we choose our communities or not, and we have the opportunity to reflect or not reflect as we go on, and to look at like, why do we struggle? And oftentimes those struggles are not ours. They're the systems. They were built to fuck us up. And then some of them were just built to leave us out. And other ones are things have changed or whatever it might be, or we move between them. And if we don't give ourselves a little bit of space to be more aware of our why and like how we can really make a change in the world, be the change you want to see in the world.
Well, I'm going to be short and sweet. I just want to say thank you for coming today, because you rejuvenated me today, because I started off earlier saying something about you don't get paid for social service, and being in the social service field don't pay no money.
Rich
and to hear you sit up here and talk and try to help people realize that you can do what you're doing without no money. You can do it from the bottom of your heart. You can just do it because of the love in you, and people find the love, and it's not about the money. And that's what I learned today is because
It's about
You
the
gotta
value.
have the money though. After
Well,
you
you
gotta
gotta-
be able to
you-
pay
you
your rent.
gotta have the money.
Money can
But
get you there.
You gotta have the money, but listening to you and hear the sincerity of how all the things you done said that you did, you can do all that. You could have much money in the world, but most of it had to
Yeah.
come from
Yeah.
your heart,
Heart.
which doesn't cost anything. So that's what I'm saying, because me, like I said, I deal with service. I deal with kids and people all the time, and some days it's like I should be getting paid $1 million for this, but most of the time it's like I'm doing this just out of love, so it ain't about the money. But it's just in my head, I had to keep the reality that a person should be able to be compensated for doing what we do, even though these people that
So
run
I
people's lives
encourage
and
you
don't
to
get
stop worrying about where your income comes from and trust the
Dollar.
universe is going to equally bless you in direct proportion to the blessing that you're giving others. And
Exactly.
stop worrying about where your income is going to come from, because I promise you that there are unlimited sources of whatever it is you need out there. There is enough for everybody. And if we stop that limiting thinking and be like, it's only from my job, I might need to get paid from my boss more. Maybe not. Maybe there's a different way that maybe you're going to start getting some random check in the mail. But if you cut yourself off from just being like, I deserve, or I think, I don't question it. And I live an abundant life today, and I never know where my income is coming from, but I know that I live well. And
But I speak for not just myself. I'm like teachers and social service and all the people I see that work in this field who doesn't
Yeah.
have
Thick skin.
enough. They can't
Right.
pay their bills to get by every day, but they get up and get abused by other individuals.
I encourage
in their
every one of
field.
those people
So
to write
that's what
their
I'm saying.
fucking whoever it is in their district
For years
and
and
to
years
fight
of
for
it.
the law and to fight for policy change and to join a
Well,
union and
teachers on
advocate.
strike and all these people that go on strike just to get their money. I'm just thinking if
fucked up.
society one day will say, here, we want to give you your just
That's
due.
not the U.S.
That's
It's
not the US?
No, you should know better than
I
that.
know. I'm just cracking a joke for the people
We're
out
not
there.
going to
So
have any
there's
health
a lot
care
of people
for
out
all.
there.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Affordable
of-
access to housing and equal rights and fucking not a police state. No.
But you can go out and help all the rich people and the presidents
Yes.
and the mayor's kids
Of
and family
course.
members get their drug
and they
issues
don't need
together.
to have any
and this and
taxes.
that.
That's for us to worry
Yeah,
about.
well-
Okay, I'm
Okay,
gonna go
guys. Well, you know, it's time for us to wrap it up. Hey,
Thank
Tora,
you so
once
much.
again, man, thank you,
I appreciate it.
and thank you for all you
That
do.
you
You know what I mean?
doing,
And
yeah.
like I said, man, you are the bomb, man. Talking to you, I knew that you had a lot of information, and you smile every time you do this. You see what I'm saying? Hey, if y'all can see her, man, she's always smiling, and you know what, man? Because she's genuine. You know what I'm
Maybe
saying?
a believer.
Night
Gotta
Shift
believe
Radio,
over
man,
here.
and like I said, Angie, thank you for showing up.
I'm
Ray
gonna have to
J,
come
you
donate
know what's
some
up?
hours with you.
And
I'm gonna have to come
Adam,
donate.
you know what I'm saying? You know what's up? Like I said, and once again, Tora, man, we would love to have you back.
Thank
and
you. I'd love to come back.
And bring some of your
Subject.
people with you. Hey, I got you. Well, hey, anything in
You
harm,
have them.
anything in harm's way, you're gonna talk to Tora. Okay? Hey,
You can
you
get a hold
guys.
of me at 619
There it is.
961 0527 or 888 Narcan, NARCAN 0. I don't know. You can look at your phone pad for those alphabet numbers and or hrcsd.org. You can find me on Facebook, Tara Stamos BSIG, I think it is, or Harm Reduction Coalition of San Diego. Search us up. You can also just look up Tara Harm Reduction. You'll find me. Call
Hey,
me.
she ain't hard to find.
Nope.
And
All
reach
right.
her anytime.
Anytime, 24/7.
With that said, man, we'll see y'all on our next episode of Night Shift Podcast.
Pleasure.
First humanity-based podcast in existence, and we out of here.
See ya.
Treat people like you want to be treated.